Hello and welcome to the Cinema ATL Podcast. The Cinema ATL Podcast is a weekly podcast that examines the world of entertainment through the lens of local and filmmakers. That would be us, your hosts. I'm Michael D. Friedman, and that is
Martin Kelly.
And this week we're discussing the big news around the Atlanta film and TV industry. We'll discuss what's coming out soon, what's filming now, and other interesting tidbits. But first, Martin, why don't you tell our audience how they can help the podcast out?
Well, you can help like you've been helping. A lot of you have. We appreciate it. You can comment and rate wherever you listen to this podcast and subscribe there as well. And those places happen to be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Amazon, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and even on YouTube. We appreciate those of you who have been doing that, but we need more of it. So comment more and subscribe more and rate it highly, please.
And we'd also like to hear from you. You can always tweet us. You can do that at Cinema ATL, or you can hit us up individually. My account is at Badger33.
Or me at Marte_Real1.
And it's imperative that you follow us on Instagram at Cinema ATL Podcast and check out all the cool stuff we're doing there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And also, if you're old school, and old school by now is still new school for some, is the legacy website, cinematl.com.
Yep. Like we say, pull out your Netscape Navigator 2.0 and check it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, why don't we just talk about some news?
Yeah, so welcome back to another edition of the Cinema ATL Industry News. It feels good to say that again because, so many times we weren't able to talk about industry news. This week, we're going to start with some interesting news and nuggets, and then we're going to jump into the new or upcoming releases that were filmed in Georgia. And then, of course, as always, we'll discuss what's shooting now that will be on the range down the road.
And just a reminder, these films most of them are listed on the Georgia Film Help Wanted hotline at georgia.org. So go on your Netscape Navigator 2.0 and type in georgia.org and look for Georgia Film Help Wanted hotline to learn more about if any of these productions are looking for more people. Maybe you can get involved.
Definitely.
Well,
so first up, let's talk about news.
Yeah, let's just talk about some just little news things that we picked up here and there. First one I wanted to talk about was, this report came out that Atlanta is now the number 7 Nielsen market in the country, up from number 10, moving on up. We passed Boston, DC, and Houston. For those of you that don't know what that means, like the Nielsen DMA or the market is really based on the number of households with TVs, and that's how they do TV ratings. So us being number 7, I don't know, it's pretty cool. And it just means that we get more attention from advertisers and stuff like that, and just more attention in general, which helps bring attention to Atlanta. More people come here and film and stuff like that.
Definitely, it become that means we're a major media market now. I mean, we also think that we were a major media market, but now we really are. We're really duking it out, passing Boston and DC, and even a huge city like Houston. I mean, that's fantastic. So very cool news indeed.
So suck it, Houston. Suck it.
Houston, you have a problem. It's called ATL. But no, seriously, we like Houston. But we're glad to be number 7, and we're gunning for that number 1 spot eventually. So that's pretty cool. But also one of Atlanta's own, very recently in the news, Tyler Perry wins Oscar's Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award, and obviously he's very deserving of this. He does a lot of things for the community, especially during the pandemic. When he was buying people's groceries, and he was doing so much for the people who were suffering in the city. So that was well deserved, of course. And then he also had a really interesting and good acceptance speech, and he talked about something that we have touched on a little bit in our podcast about refusing hate.
Right.
And we always talk about the importance of kindness, and this is kind of the flip side of that, is like refusing hate, right? So I was really happy that he not only talked about refusing hate, because a lot of people talk about it, but they really have a very sort of um, very microscopic idea of what that actually entails. And he's talking
Right.
about everywhere. He's talking about everywhere.
Yep.
Like,
Both
don't
sides, all
hate
sides.
anybody.
In fact, he
Exactly.
mentioned coming to the middle, and that's where conversation starts. And
Yes.
I thought his speech was excellent. And we've talked before about say what you will about the quality of Tyler Perry's stuff, but he has done so much for the Atlanta film industry, and he's done so much for Atlanta. So it was really cool to see him, get this award, and I think it's well deserved. Well deserved.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and like I said, I think it's so important that somebody actually, speak in these type of terms, because there are so many people that are in the middle who feel kind of alienated by the extremes. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so it becomes really hard for any conversation like we've talked about before to be had in a constructive way. And you're right though. We've been critical of Tyler Perry's content before, just because it may not be to our taste, but at the same time, you can't deny how much he's done for the film industry in Atlanta, and such an impact on the film industry as a whole, in general. Not
Right.
just in Atlanta. And so
Yeah,
I was
definitely.
really happy. Yeah, I was really happy that he won the award, and I was very happy with his speech because it was very positive and uplifting. So kudos to Tyler Perry.
And then finally, on our just kind of interesting news, uh, Black Hall Studios was sold recently to a group of LA investors for $120 million. This group paid for it, and it's actually follows up a recently announced 40-acre expansion that Black Hole Studios is undergoing, which they obtained in a land swap with DeKalb County. It was kind of interesting. They they took some of their land and gave it to DeKalb, and then they took some parkland, and so the land that's going to DeKalb is going to be renovated and turned into a park, and the expansion they got is going to help them build the studio up even larger, and it should make it one of the largest studios in the U.S. So we talk about Tyler Perry studio here. We talk about what was it? What's the other one? It's not called the
Former
Trillin.
Pine, oh
Formerly
Trillis,
Trillis
formerly yeah Trillis
Studios.
Studios,
So we got
formerly yeah.
so we got some really big studios, here, and then just one just gets going to get bigger, and with the LA investors, hopefully more stuff comes in.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that just shows that it will. I don't think that the LA investors would put that kind of money into studios in Georgia if they didn't believe that it was still the best place to sort of make movies. And I'm not saying the best place in a sense. I'm just saying a great place to make movies.
Right.
Obviously, we think it's the best place because we live here and we love Atlanta. But yeah, definitely promising news. And Black Hall Studios really really becoming a significant force in the industry. So yeah, good for them.
And no word if they're going to change the name of it. The original owner says he's keeping the Black Hall name, and he's actually starting his own like production company, Black Hall like Entertainment, I think is what he's calling it, or something like that.
We need to hit
So
him up so we can make some movies for
right,
him because he's got a little bit of pocket change to spend on movies.
just a bit, just a bit. All right, so that's all the news and nuggets and just little info that we got. Let's move into our upcoming releases. And I say upcoming because I don't think there's been a lot recently to watch, except for Falcon and the Winter Soldier just finished up its run on Disney Plus. But we wanted to talk about some that are coming down the pike, and the first one I really wanted to talk about is an indie film. We've talked about this film before on our indie spotlight. We've talked about some of the short films that he's made. Cam Logan made a feature length film called Bryn Gets a Life, which is a sequel to some of the shorts that he's done. And this is premiering at the Reedy Reels Festival in South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, on June 5th. So we encourage you to check that out. It looks really funny. This trailer is now online. You can follow them. on Instagram and Facebook. Really encourage you to help indie filmmakers, local indie filmmakers. They shot this in the Augusta area. I think he's based in the Augusta area. So check it out. South
Yeah,
Carolina is not that
definitely.
far away. Greenville, especially, is not that far away. So
No, I used to have a road trip to Greenville quite a bit, and so it's certainly not far at all. Honestly, about 2.5 hours probably. But this is great. I mean, obviously we love doing our local spotlights when we get that opportunity, and it's really cool to see one of the people that we've spotlight get a feature film and get it to a festival. So very excited for Cam. So congratulations, Cam and company. So good luck at the festival in June. And so next, let's talk about a little bit larger budget film. In fact, I want to talk about how large the budget is because it was a funny comment from one of the producers on it. It's called The Tomorrow War, and it's coming July 2nd on Prime, Amazon Prime Video. And Chris Pratt is the star. He announced the premiere date on social media, and he's also one of the producers on the project. And he had a really funny comment about um, why the budget was so huge. It was he basically said that Jeff Bezos loves aliens, so that's why he spent $200 million on an alien movie. So he's really excited about it, which is kind of cool and kind of infectious. There is a teaser trailer out right now. As you listen to this podcast, it just came out. So if you want
very
to get
much
a
a teaser. Very, very much a teaser.
yeah,
It's
it's
only like 30
definitely
seconds long.
definitely. In fact, it's so funny. The place I saw it played the teaser twice, and it still it still was less than you would expect a teaser trailer to be.
But it
But
looks
yeah,
interesting, and
it
based on
definitely
what
does.
we talked about them shooting this back in previous
Yeah,
industry news, so it's really cool to see it coming to the, well, I would say the big screen, but your fairly large
yeah. Depends on your
HD.
how big your screen is in the house.
um, Speaking of other streaming services and Disney Plus, yet again we mentioned Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but their next series, Loki, is coming out for Marvel. The next Marvel series, Loki, is coming out on June 11th, and a trailer for this was released recently too. And you can, if you're familiar with Atlanta, you've seen a couple of the spots that are featured in the
Oh,
trailer.
definitely. Oh,
Um,
definitely.
but this looks really good. I'm excited to see this one. So,
There's
and
more than one trailer actually. If you can
right,
track down a couple of different trailers, and they all look really cool. And of course, it stars it stars not only the, the the actor who plays Loki, and I'm blanking on his
Tom
name.
Hiddleston.
Yes, Tom Hiddleston stars Tom Hiddleston,
It
but it
stars
also
Loki.
stars. Exactly, I was going to say that it's not only got featuring Loki, but but it's featuring Owen Wilson, who I love Owen Wilson. So it's really going to be cool to see him in his first television series. So
All
this will
right.
be really cool. This will be really cool. And is it um, Gugu? Oh God, I'm butchering her name too. But she is in it as well, and
I
she's
have no idea who you're talking about.
no, yeah, you've seen her. She's been in lots of films. Mgugu,
Oh, yeah. I'm not gonna.
yes. You see,
Bantha Raw.
you're not even gonna
Yeah,
do it. But yes, she's in it, and she's an excellent actor too. So it's great to see them in it, and I bet we'll see a bunch of surprise Atlanta actors in it as well, just like we did in the uh, WandaVision series. I'm
right.
guessing we will. But you're right about the locations, though. Some really iconic Atlanta locations. You can definitely tell, and the way they dress them up, even in the trailer, is really cool.
Yeah, yeah. They made good use of that, right? A location that's also featured in the Hunger Games, amongst other
Hmm.
places.
Hmm.
But yeah, they made it look different a little bit. I mean, you can still recognize it. Everybody in Atlanta's like,
Right.
oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Gugu Mbatha-Raw
There we
is
go.
who you're talking about. I was like, at
Right.
first I had no clue what you're talking about, but yeah, now I know what you're talking
Okay, my bad.
about.
In comic book related news, Also coming out soon, the Suicide Squad comes to theaters and HBO Max on August 6th, and that trailer was also recently released. And again, this is a whole other comic book franchise shooting in Georgia, which so now
Right.
we basically own comic book movies. It seems
DC.
like.
This is a DC one, so we have DC and Marvel. They're shooting here, and this one you can watch on the big screen because it, will be in theaters.
Yes.
So
It definitely will.
it looks really good. James Gunn did this one, who crossed
Yeah,
over from Marvel to DC, from Guardians of the Galaxy to this, but it's got the same kind of you know uh,
I think
oddball
yeah,
spirit. I think it looks like
definitely,
so.
definitely. It does. It certainly does. It's not. You can tell that the vibe is completely different from the other Suicide Squad
Right.
film, but at the same time, it looks really fun. So I've got a lot of high hopes for this one.
And speaking of DC, so now we're going to move into what's in production now. That's the stuff that's coming out soon, but this stuff's in production now. There's another DC film. It's called Black Adam, and The Rock is back in town. He is shooting this one as we speak. For those that don't know who Black Adam is, which I don't really know much about him because I'm more of a Marvel guy than DC, but he's
Uh-huh.
presented as an anti-hero, and often he's like the nemesis to Shazam and his family. So it's kind of interesting that The Rock is playing this kind of gray area character. So it'll be interesting to see how he does with that. And in related news, Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, is also now casting and will film in Atlanta as well. So
So
maybe there's a
absolutely, just
crossover
yeah,
coming.
yeah. I bet you there is. And when you say The Rock is back in town, he's actually here. He lives here,
Well,
so
I mean,
we don't have to say he's back.
he's got a house here. I don't know if he lives here. I think he lives here when he's filming, but yeah.
Which he's always filming. I mean, come on, it's
Yeah,
The
he's
Rock.
almost filming here. But yeah,
It's it's The Rock. He's always filming,
that's
and
true.
he's it's I love it. I love it that he's here, and I think he'll have a lot of fun with that character. I don't know anything about the character either. I know less than you probably about especially the DC world, but it sounds like a fun character, and I do think there's probably going to be some sort of a crossover event
Right.
between Shazam and Black Adam, obviously. Next, there's another interesting film uh, called Day Shift, which stars Jamie Foxx,
He was
and it's
back.
a comedy.
He's back in Atlanta again. He's
He's
filming a
back.
lot of
See,
stuff in Atlanta too.
he has, but he's back because I don't know that he actually resides here. So it's a Netflix comedy, and it's a film about a blue collar family man who happens to hunt vampires on the side. So that premise is kind of cool. And Jamie Foxx is obviously very talented, dramatic actor as well as comedic. So I can't wait to see what they do with this premise. Sounds really cool, and certainly, a nice new twist on sort of vampires.
Right. Definitely. And then, going into another kind of comedy slash horror film, we have My Best Friend's Exorcism. This is an Amazon Prime movie. It's based off a book by Grady Hendrix, and it's described as Beaches meets Heathers meets The Exorcism. So that's
Nice.
very interesting combination. We'll see how it works. It's got me intrigued. I'll tell you that much. So
No, totally. And it's funny that the last one was talk about Netflix. This is actually Amazon Prime, so the two streaming services are really starting to come up with some interesting, fun sounding movies. So that sounds cool.
all right, right.
Next is a Lionsgate movie called The Valet, and this stars Eugenio Debes and Samara Weaving. And this is based off of a French film from 2006. And the logline is a valet is enlisted by a movie star to pose as her lover to cover up her relationship with a married man. So, we this is another in a long line of remake of French films.
Right.
It's definitely got that French film vibe to it. The log line itself. This could be really good because some of them are really good and some of them are just they don't translate as well. So we'll see what this one
Right.
is. But it's shooting here in Atlanta, so interesting to see that.
And I believe that's produced by the same guy who did the Overboard remake with Eugenio Debbez too. So
Ah,
they've got
yeah, yeah.
history together, and it's interesting to see him kind of branching more into English language movies even more. So it's really cool to see him, expand his audience. So he's a huge, uh,
Huge
hugely
star. Yeah.
successful star in the Latinx community. So
Hmm.
it's really good to see him expanding. Um, next up, another. This is our last movie that we have on the list, and this one's called A Very Loud Christmas. And for those of you who that don't know and maybe don't have kids, but this is based off of the animated show The Loud House, which is on Nickelodeon. So this is actually going to be a live action version of it, though. So it's going to be interesting to see how they cast it and how the kids take to it, because Loud House is a very popular show on Nickelodeon. It's one of the more popular cartoons out there today. So it'll be interesting to see what becomes of this. The plans are to debut it in November on Nickelodeon, and you can check it out then. And then talking about live action stuff from animated source material, we've got Powerpuff Girls. There's a pilot for the CW that's based off the Cartoon Network classic animated show, and it's going to be live action as well. This one is actually written by Diablo Cody and Heather Regnier, who was on Veronica Mars. So that's a
Yeah,
good
definitely.
screenwriting
Definitely.
combo. It'd be interesting to see how they
Definitely.
portray Powerpuff Girls in live action. And it's produced by Greg Berlanti, who you might know is basically the main guru of the Arrowverse, all the CW DC shows, the Arrow and Flash and all those things. So this has
Definitely.
got some good pedigree to it. So hopefully it gets picked up. They're
Yeah.
just shooting the pilot right now for the CW, but hopefully that gets picked up to a series and we'll be able to see it on the CW.
Yeah, that should be interesting. Powerpuff Girls is always really fun, little cartoon, but I'm really interested to see what they do to create the live action version. And that, you're right, is a great pedigree of screenwriting team, and of course, Greg Berlanti is got the Midas touch with television. So this has all the elements that could be a big deal.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because, like, in the cartoon, the Powerpuff Girls are little girls, but I think in this they're like
Yeah,
supposed to be older. I think they're supposed to be like teenagers or something.
yeah, I
So
think so. I think so.
it'll be interesting to see how they play that. But I mean, if anybody can pull it off, I think this team could do it. It looks interesting.
Definitely, definitely. Speaking of interesting, here is a classic that's being sort of remade. It's called The Wonder Years, and the pilot is for ABC. And this, of course, is a remake of the '80s show that was such a beloved sort of classic television. This one is actually being produced by Lee Daniels, who produced Empire, and it's going to focus instead of a white family, it's going to focus on a black middle class family in Montgomery, Alabama, in the '60s. So this could be really interesting. Again, The Wonder Years was always a favorite. I can't say that I watched the whole series, but I did enjoy it when I would watch it, and it certainly was a good memory for a lot of people. The Wonder Years.
Yeah, it was extremely popular when I mean, it kickstarted Fred Savage's career, and people were talking about the romance between him and Winnie and all those
Yes.
things about the Wonder Years. And the premise was it took place in the 60s. So now we're even going, when you're looking at an 80s movie that's looking back on the 60s, now you're looking back on it from even further, and then you're taking a look at it more from the black middle class family avenue. I think a lot of the stuff from the original Wonder Years was probably a little bit whitewashed and just like, hey, how wonderful it was. I think this might focus a little bit more on some of the more real issues that were going on at the time. So, I'm definitely interested to see what the take is on this. And
Right.
once again, hopefully this gets picked up for series because it's a pilot that's being shot first. So we'll see if ABC picks it up. But
Right.
I would
Definitely.
be really interested to see this. I think this is really clever take on rebooting this show.
No, definitely, I think so too. And like I said, I have high hopes for it. And I remember the old show with a lot of fondness. So let's hope they can actually recapture some of that magic, and yet recontextualize it as well. So this should be interesting. So we'll keep an eye on it.
And then finally, if you didn't have your fill of vampires, we have a Netflix series that's being shot now called First Kill. This is a young adult based vampire show about a teenage vampire who targets her first victim, not realizing that she is actually a vampire hunter. So, and
Hijinks
uh,
ensue.
yeah, I mean, I read a little bit more about this, and I think there's like this kind of, it'll be like this kind of, you can't have a young adult novel or young adult show without, the romantic part of it too. So I think they might actually fall for each other, even though
I wouldn't doubt it. I
they're
would not
on
doubt it.
each side of the battle, the Montagues and the
Totally.
Capulets, maybe that thing going on
There
here.
you go. There you go. Absolutely. The Van Helsings and the Count and the
Yeah.
Counts of Transylvania. But it's kind of a cool premise at first blush. So that will be nice, and
No, Martin,
the
it's
thing
at
about
first kill, not at first blush. First
yeah,
kill. I'm just kidding. I'm
yeah, I know.
kidding. I'm kidding.
But if you don't have the blush, then nobody's gonna want to kill.
A kill.
You know. So, but no, it sounds really cool actually. And Netflix, obviously, the difference between the ones we just talked about and Netflix is this is actually going to be a series already because
Right.
Netflix kind of just goes right at it,
Yeah.
whereas the last couple we talked about are more the old traditional style of trying out the pilot first, and so we'll see how it goes.
Well, there you have it. All the news that's fit to podcast, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, there's lots more stuff going on too. So, check out, like I said, the Georgia Help Wanted hotline for more information on some of these things. Because there's also like Spider-Man 3 is shooting here, and
hmm
more Marvel stuff. We go heavy into Marvel, so I was trying to back off the Marvel a little bit today, but
right, right,
it's good to know that Marvel is going to keep shooting stuff here. So, I mean, that's always,
definitely,
and more Disney Plus shows, more movies. So,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, check it out, find out more about it, and see if you can get on one of these sets if you're interested. And let us know if you do. We'd love to hear some success stories of people getting on some of these shows. I know some people have worked on some of these things. So
yeah.
let us know about it.
Definitely. Yeah. Let us know, and again, comment and subscribe and share this with everybody you know, and help create a little more buzz about the Cinema ATL podcast. We'd appreciate it.
Yes, we need more buzz, people. Buzz is the key.
Is that even a word anymore? I think
Give
that
us
may
this
not.
buzz.
This may not be the right word to use. Maybe we need a new one.
Well, BuzzFeed's the thing, right? So I think buzz
Okay.
is still a word, right?
I guess it is. I
Just gonna
guess
keep
it
saying
is.
buzz because I like the sound of it. Um, anyway, yeah, so that's it for this week. Once again, we want to thank Eureka Failure for providing the music as they do every week for us. We really appreciate them. Check them out at eurekafailure.bandcamp.com. And what else we got? Martin, you got some final words?
Well, I have always got final words, but I don't know how often people listen to my final words. So let me just go back to the well with, you know, a phrase that, a kind of attitude that everybody should try to adapt. And I think if you adapt this attitude, then you can start to be kind and start to make a difference in the world. Those little kindness ripples will help the world, and that start each day with a grateful heart, because it is a blessing to be here, to be alive, even in the tough times that are had by everyone. If you have that grateful heart, it'll help you be kind, and those kindnesses will ripple around the world and make this world a better place. So that's my thought.
Also, be kind, rewind. All right.
If you still own a VCR, If you still own a VCR, sure.
And you're renting movies from somewhere, VHS tapes, please rewind those. That's the first step you can take to kindness. Rewinding.
Oh, speaking of, this is off topic, and we're way off. We're way off our program. But you just talked about Be Kind, Rewind. If you did not see the last Blockbuster documentary, I just found out very recently that Full Count was actually in that store, and that was really cool to see. So that was always my dream, to be in the Blockbuster, and now it happened with the last Blockbuster.
I believe you can Airbnb that last Blockbuster too and stay there overnight. So maybe you should do that and watch Full Count on your VHS.
On their TVs inside the store.
It's not on VHS though, right? Full Count's not on VHS.
No, it's not on VHS, but I'm just saying it was at Blockbuster, which when you said you kind of rewind, it reminded me of that. And so
I've heard that's a good documentary. I haven't seen that documentary yet.
It is really cool. But definitely, didn't mean to break out of our usual clothes, but I just wanted to mention it.
Whatever. Like you said, nobody listens at this point anyway.
Probably not.
People have already shut us off when I say thanks to Eureka Failure, they're like, okay, cool. Click.
Exactly.
They go listen to Eureka Failure. They don't want to listen to us anymore. All right. Well, anyway, that's it. Please come back next week if we haven't run you off. We'll have a whole new episode for you, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.